everybody. I'm Tony Pellegrino, and this is Tech Talk that we do live here on Facebook every Tuesday and Thursday. Today, I've got some special guests from Rugged Radios, and we're going to talk about everything race radio that you guys want to talk about. So this is a great opportunity to have them here as guests. And as always, we are going to welcome your questions and comments. However, today I want to keep them on topic. So Thursday we'll have more of an open one that you guys can talk about everything else. Today I'd like to keep it radio and communication related, please. All right. Our featured product for today is Rugged Radios.
All right, everything radios.
Yep. And why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
All right, I'm Greg Cottrell. I'm president and founder of Rugged Radios, and man, I'm happy to be here today. I've known Tony for a long time, and to be a part of this, we're doing a test and tune day, so we're part of Tech Talk, and I can't wait to answer questions and tell people more about Rugged Radios.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm Dustin Ensign. I'm director of marketing. Work closely with Greg, and we're really excited to be here.
It's awesome. Today they came out early and worked on all of our vehicles. It's great because they're really interested in getting the product perfect for us. I don't know if they worked on the race car or not. It's kind of in a lot of pieces.
It's in a lot of pieces, yeah.
But they often will come and work on the race car specifically, but this time they actually worked on all of our Jeeps, which was great. They've got a bunch of new stuff that they've been working on that got installed today on our Jeeps and antennas and other things that I'm going to have you guys talk about. First, for those of the viewers that aren't familiar with what a race radio is, a lot of us within the industry have switched over from CBs. So let's talk about the difference between a CB and a race radio.
You know what? A lot of differences. You know what? First off, today, it was great to come out because you know what? To get my team not in race environments, because we call it hair on fire when you're at a race. It's hair on fire and everything has to be done now. So to come out in a relaxed environment, come to your building, go through all these cars, you know, it's also a learning curve for us. We get to go through and see the diversity of all the cars, how things are mounted, what things are done, to where this is a learning time for us too. So we get to show you the latest in products, give you some education about radios, but also educating us about our customers that are out in the field.
Yeah, so today we talked about, top on, top off, right? We were coming up with all the different configurations, so it really was nice. Like you say, we normally never have that opportunity to just chat.
Well, it's so great because you guys are everything Jeep. You live that life. For us as a communication company, we're living the Jeep life, the trophy truck life, the Class 11 life, the aviation life, the fire truck, the side-by-side, the diversity of
motorcycles.
products.
You guys even do stuff with motorcycles.
I mean, it's insane how much stuff we do. And the thing is this, so to come to the Jeep experts, to learn what you guys are doing, check out the new products, the builds, and how you do a cage, the top. We talked about top on, top off. What are our solutions we're going to do? We got to scratch our head a little bit and come up with the right solution. But dealing with people like you is going to help us so much in the future. And then things will be available on your website. So now, like your customers, when they come to you, they can buy everything. They can also buy everything Rugged directly from you. And now we can perfect those things because there's a big difference between CB, commercial band radios, GMRS radios, ham radios. The radio world is really broad. And so now we're trying to educate on what direction do people go? Because right now it's like the balls are in the air and they're saying, which ball do I grab? Okay, and that's the thing that's fun today to come here and talk about this. So just a brief overview, Rugged Radios. I've been doing this a long time. Rugged we're like 16 years old for Rugged. I've actually started, this is my 30th year in doing what I've done in communications. I originally had another company that I designed and built all these products for NASCAR, IndyCar, off-road, aviation. Sold that company. They ended up running it into the ground. I took back my factory that I built all these products. I have people that I hired 30 years ago on the assembly line. It's insane, and people don't even know that.
Wow, that's cool.
So I've been doing this a long time. Manufacturing, I private labeled for everyone. You name it out there, I private labeled for it. So I've been doing this a long time. I consider myself the world expert in this because, man, I got a lot of experience. And you know what? It's fun to really doing the education about communications now and doing this stuff, because you know what? We're trying to be the best we can and direct people in the right direction. And like I say, today, just to come out and see the Jeeps, I got my stock JL sitting over there. And I'm looking at this thing with 40-inch tires and everything else, that I bet you that 40-inch tire and that Jeep drives exactly like mine stock one does down the highway. So I'm a little jealous. You know, I'm a little jealous, and it makes me want to, maybe I need to do a little more with my Jeep.
Well, you know the right guy.
Exactly.
Just pick up the phone.
So
Okay, so let's go back to
Yep.
CBs versus. Explain to people why there's been this transition, and you know, because CBs have been the standard for a long time.
man, my dad growing up, I remember Death Valley in our 51 Willys wagon. Okay, going Death Valley with the CB radio in it. CBs have been around a long time, and people have used them for everything CB. I don't know how many millions of them are sold. CB has a lot of issues with things, and that's why the transition to other types of radios. CBs have a maximum of 7 watts at it. CB is an AM band. Antennas and tuning are absolutely critical. You're dealing with 7 watts. Well, when we have something, a commercial band radio in your race car, a quote race radio, when we talk about race radios, we talk about a commercial band radio that they've been using in racing for a long time. So racing started very early on, like in Baja racing, they used commercial band radios, and it just kind of stayed all the way through. So you can get 50-watt radios. Some race radios even have 110-watt radios. You can get really powerful radios. Well, a CB is 7 watts.
Yeah, that's not going far.
So, you know, the thing is it's not going very far. Then it's absolutely critical, your antenna placement. We talked today about the proper placement of antennas. Well, you see that big 6-foot-long Fire Stick antenna on the CB, you got to have an SWR meter. It's critical to test it. You got to make sure everything is letter perfect just to be able to use it in somewhat short range, because you're only dealing with 7 watts. When you've got little handheld radios, so let me grab one of these over here.
Yeah.
So you have something like one of our V3 commercial band radios. You have something that's a 5-watt handheld radio. So you have you can get 5-watt handheld radios. Well, a mobile mount in your Jeep for a CB radio is a max of 7. Most of them are 4 and 5.
That's almost the same power.
So it's almost the same power. So you have something like this. Then you have GMRS radios. GMRS radios are about 2 watts. The FCC limits the radiation factor of GMRS radios, so there's a limitation.
The handhelds are 2 watts, yeah.
Yeah, handhelds are 2 watts, but the one thing about GMRS radios, you can get up to 50-watt mobiles. So now, we have CB, we have race radios, then we also have, we call them consumer brand radios. So the consumer radios, so hey, you're going out jeeping with your friends. GMRS radios are absolutely great. It's a UHF band. Licensing for it, you get a 10-year family license to use the channels on these radios. The GMRS radios, they work fantastic.
So are these pre-programmed as well, or is this a channel you can select? How does this work? I've never even seen one.
So with the GMRS radios, the FCC has set an allocation of channels and frequencies for GMRS. So these radios are programmed to those frequencies, so you quickly scroll through with it, and all the GMRS channels, if you have another brand GMRS radio, you just select the channel and the code, and you can talk to any of the other ones. Okay, we use something different. We use an aluminum chassis radio, so we design and build all of our products. So like this radio, this GMRS radio that we have, this is our new GMR2. This is tooled and designed 100% by us. So that's the thing about like a lot of our new products. Hey, I've used housings from other radios and then built the internals. Now we're manufacturing all of our radios start to finish. Like this radio is 100% tooled by us.
That's cool.
And we're trying to make them ergonomic, the right button locations, the right screen, high def screens. We're trying to step up our game.
Yeah, these were easy to hit stuff you were intending to.
Yeah, exactly. So we're making a lot of changes, and on the consumer side. So in racing, you know, sometimes when you're out at the races, sometimes when you have all these consumers that are buying commercial band radios, what happens is they're also walking on the race channels. We're trying to make sure that we can get that separated. When you're a professional race team, you guys are a professional race team, that's a business for you. I mean, you're in the business of racing. You're a professional race driver. You know what? And that's in professional racing, use the business band radios because that's what it's intended for. You should have licensing for all your channels in it. In all of our commercial band radios, we license all of our channels for our customers to use. Now, all of our channels, we have area licenses and we also have US-wide licenses. So it's a mix of channels in all of our frequencies. But we've done everything we can working with the FCC to have all the proper licensing and do everything we can. But GMRS radios, I'm going to tell you guys, it is such the future in play Jeep. When you're out playing in Jeep, the GMRS radios, it's a UHF band. It works so much better. It's incredible, the clarity. It works in canyons. A lot of times the Jeeps are not that far apart. So, and like I say, we have a waterproof 25-watt radio. We have another 45-watt GMRS. The 25 is small, mounts easy in the Jeeps. It's just a great product. And you know what? All your buddies, it's just like when you're racing. You tune to the same channel.
Yeah.
You can talk to everybody. And you know what? What an experience when you're out playing in your Jeep and you're out in Death Valley and you're crawling around and you're talking to all the other people in your group.
It's totally cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I remember, to be honest, why am I in this business? I mean, I grew up in the #1 Kawasaki dealership in the country. So my parents, I grew up in a motorcycle shop. I was a high performance mechanic. That's what I was, an engine builder. We were known for having the hottest Honda engines out there. So we had Irwindale Raceway. Every Friday night we had a race team that raced motocross. And so I'd be out there and we had the fastest bikes out there. I grew up in a high performance shop. It was a lot of fun. But then we started a communication business. And I fell in love with communications. Because my dad on that old CB radio talking, and man, as a little kid, you pick it up and you're like, man, or I had some little, I remember I had this kit and I built my own radio so I could talk to my buddy down the street. I can't remember what type of kit it was.
Or from Radio Shack or something.
Yeah, from Radio Shack or something.
But that was, I remember back then when it went to 40 channels, man, it was like the world just opened up, you know?
And you know what? And I love communications.
That's cool.
Because you know what? It's in everything.
Yeah.
You know, people ask what I do. And I tell people real simple, if you got to talk in loud noise, that's what I do. So anything with noise, I can handle it. Yeah. And that's what's fun about what we do as a company, because I do fire trucks, aviation, police officers, heavy into racing. I mean, racing is a big part of our culture because my dad used to race Baja. My dad raced Class 11 in the Baja 1000 back when it was the Mexican 1000.
That's cool.
So back in the early 70s. So last time I raced Baja was 2015, and I raced Class 11. I won't race any other class.
That's a tough class.
If I'm going to be in a race car, it's going to be a Class 11.
That's a working man's class.
Deb, how are we doing on questions?
We've got a few questions.
Okay,
You
go ahead and
ready?
keep 'em in.
You ready for some?
Sure.
Our buddy Kelly Sims chimed in right away. He's got an RRP 660.
Yep.
He can hear phone calls come in through his headset, but he cannot transmit. What might be the problem? What is the music cell toggle switch used for? I hear motor whine in the headset. Is being wired directly to the battery important?
So a couple things here. The 660, let's see, that was a 660 plus.
He just said RRP 660.
I believe it's Bluetooth.
Yeah.
That one's Bluetooth.
So a couple things. When you're wired directly to the battery, that's one of the most common things we talk about in racing. So we're really trying to do a big push on educating our customer on how to properly install it because of engine noise and whine and those kind of things, just like a race car. You know, hey, we sell a lot of product, and we found that we need to up our game on education. We're really good at selling, but maybe the instructions weren't clear enough, or we didn't make it up front and center, or somebody didn't read instructions. So we're really trying that education, and direct to a battery is a great question. Because so many people, instead of wiring directly to the battery, they go directly to the fuse block, that they say, well, the fuse block is directly to the battery. Well, there's a lot of other things. The ignition is tied to a fuse block. It can create engine whine. A lot of times they say, well, ground. Run the ground directly to the battery. Well, I ran it to the chassis, and the battery is grounded directly to the chassis. You can get a ground loop. You can have a ground loop issue with it. In communications, it's very much like car stereo. Okay, car stereo fights the same exact battle that communications does. You need to wire it directly to the battery. Okay, because you'll help eliminate engine whine. We also sell noise filters. So sometimes, like I say, it parallels car stereo so much because we're dealing with the same issues. We're dealing with grounding, we're dealing with ground loop issues, and we're dealing with clean
And
power.
you're amplifying whatever noise
Yeah,
there is,
the
right?
background noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as the other subject of talking, so I want to be clear, if you're talking on the cell phone, yes, our intercoms you can talk on the cell phone. If you have a Bluetooth intercom, now we made a couple changes in. Originally, on some of the intercoms, the cell phone was directed directly to the co-driver. So that when you had to be in the co-driver's port to be able to talk on the cell phone, because we dedicated the microphone there. So I'd have to see which generation your intercom is. If you called our tech line, Anna on our tech line could answer the question immediately. So you might need to switch ports, driver and co-driver, switch those. That way your mic is directly to the cell phone. Now,
Could he push to talk when he wanted to talk? Or does that not work for the cell
no,
phone?
it's because the port is dedicated to the cell phone.
Okay.
Now, since then, a lot of intercoms that we make today, we've done party line cell phone. Because a lot of people said, well, somebody on the back wants to say something.
Right.
Then it's impossible, yeah.
And I'm like,
But now it's picking up everything.
So why didn't I do that in the beginning? But a lot of times when I developed a lot of these products, I was race-minded when I did these things, and I was solely race-minded, and what I did was, and play. When I'm driving and going fast, I don't want to talk on the cell phone. I would let my co-driver do all the talking on the radio, the cell phone, so I defaulted everything to co-driver.
Right.
So there was a method and reason why I did that, but this is the thing, things change.
Yeah.
We learn, we're doing more, we're listening to our industry and our customers.
Sure.
And making changes to the product. So great question.
So Kelly's got a Jeep that was built by us, so he could literally just take the driver headset, move it to the passenger, pick up the passenger headset,
Be
and
the
he
easiest try, yeah.
yeah, that would be
set.
the easiest
Yeah.
try to know that that's the thing. And if so, all you have to do is unplug the cables out of the back of the intercom, switch them over and plug them in. And
Okay.
it won't make any difference in the performance.
he's going
and
to have his
everything
Jeep
else.
here soon, so we could do that for
Yeah,
him.
so when he's here,
Like
I'd
now,
love.
Yeah, he's on his way.
Hey, if you, Kelly,
his
if
way.
you were here today, we'd be looking at it outside right now.
Great question, though.
Yeah,
All
great
right, Deb, what
question.
else you got?
John Miller, how to be 100% legal with a VHF race radio, please and thanks.
So how to be 100% legal. So if you're using it for racing, I don't know if you're a racer or if you're a consumer, what I would do is this. Go to a frequency coordinator. We use FIT. They're one of the top frequency coordinators in the country. You give them the areas that you're using your radio in, and you have them apply for a license. It's real easy. It doesn't take long. It's not that expensive. And you can ask for area licenses. You can ask for US-wide licenses. That's the easiest way. It's not hard.
And that's different than like a ham radio course.
It's different than a ham radio course because ham radios does have a different frequency range, but the frequencies are really close on ham radios. So there's different level of ham radio operator licenses you can get. You can get a technician ham radio license that allows you to talk at a wide variety of frequencies. So when you go, I tell everybody, go get your ham radio license. It's great. It's so good to know proper radio etiquette.
Yeah.
Okay, it's so good to know, like when there's emergency, let somebody handle their emergency, because sometimes everybody's talking on the same channels, and just proper radio etiquette is really important. And you know what? The ham radio classes, they teach you a lot about two-way radios. So I really encourage everybody. There's so many online ham classes now, which there weren't before. Before, you had to go find a ham radio club. that would do ham radio licensing. And now you can take online courses, you can do so many things now that weren't available before. Because our world has kind of changed.
Yeah, in the last year.
Yeah,
Right?
in the last year,
Yeah.
things have changed so much.
Yep.
So now you can do so many more things online. So yeah, for ham radio stuff, we can get into more of that later.
Okay.
But FIT, it's right on our website. We have a link to go there. That is the best way to start to get a 100% legal license, an FCC legal license, to use your VHF race radio.
And your website is just rugged.com, right?
Ruggedradios.com.
Ruggedradios.com. Okay.
And then all of our race radios, all of our VHF radios come pre-programmed with our licensed channels by the FCC. So
Yeah.
buy one of our radios and use the channels on there. The
You're
information's on the
Yep,
website.
and we have all the information on our website,
Yeah.
the US-wide channels, the area channels, we have everything detailed on there. And so, but like I say, FIT, they're a great company to deal with, real friendly, real easy. We send a lot of customers there.
Okay.
So good question.
All right, Deb. What else?
Our viewer Michael Rorick, I'd like to know how to program my rugged radio.
So a couple things, programming, the best thing, we met a company called RT Systems. Okay, they are software engineers. These guys are amazing. They don't do anything with the radio itself, but they made programming easy. So for us, programming has been the hardest thing in the world because half the time if we had software, we had to be computer engineers because then it's not on the right COM port. And I mean, so we had to diagnose your computer to try and set this up. Well, it's your software, so you have to diagnose it. And man, it's so hard. We don't know if you're running Windows 95 or 2000 or what's happening.
Yeah.
And some old programs, like Motorola programs, were made for DOS systems.
Oh boy.
And they're still today like that. It's insane. Okay? A lot of the radios haven't come up to the new standards of operating systems. Well, RT Systems, we also have the link on our website for RT Systems. They are software engineers. They specialize in easy software to program radios. So I recommend going to their site. I think it's about $50.
I think it's $50 for the cable and the
Yeah.
software.
So, okay, so I got a question on that because I bought that.
Yeah.
I haven't ever used it, but
Yeah.
will that do this and the base units, or is it specific to each one?
So it is, but certain radios, they have a list of which softwares work with which radios.
Okay.
So the thing is this, they have a lot of our software is the same in it. So we work with and have them design a lot of software for us. So that way they have a pick of all these different products that they do. So you might even have something that's not our brand radio, that's something else. They have a huge list of stuff that you can pick from, and all the programming protocols are the same. So once you learn how to program one, you kind of know how to program all of them.
And there's always that one guy in the group that's like the computer guy or the tech
Yeah,
guy.
you're like,
He's the one.
give it to him.
Get that guy, get him on that,
Yeah.
and then get him a 6-pack of beer and have him program
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's what
Okay,
we do.
so now is that different for these
So these you don't have to program
at all?
GMRS is a set frequency. They are a set band of channels, so they're all the same. So my GMRS radio and one that you pick up at Walmart is going to have the same channels.
Okay, so how many channels are we talking about on here?
There's 22 and there's 3 subsets for each channel.
Yeah.
And then there's repeater channels as well, so you can bounce off repeaters and,
Yeah.
and send it wherever.
And there's the subaudible tones you can put in there. I mean, so you can program in so many more channels. I forgot how many
I mean, just
variables
based on
there
what
are,
you
like
said, that's
1,200.
66, right?
Yeah,
So it's even more
but
than that.
you can change all the combinations. So you can have one channel and all these different subtones to it. So there's, it's 1,000 or 1,200 different variations that you can possibly do it.
Well,
And
what's
is
great about
this-
this is you can go out to KOH with these in a Jeep club, and you guys can find a channel that no one else is on.
That's
And then your buddy that didn't plan ahead and didn't get the mobile one installed can swing by Walmart and grab something that's not going to perform as well, but you can still talk
Okay.
at close distances.
And
but
is this what you used on the dirt and drive? You were telling me that
Yeah.
story, or was it this?
I know these.
These. Okay, so
Yeah.
that worked good.
So the dirt and drive and this kind of stuff works really, really good. And this way, you know, we really want to try and we're trying to educate people more about, because like when we talk about racing, when you're out in the race car, I mean, we've had instances that we have heard other people talking on race channels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is this, that, man, we don't want to see that for you.
Well, and what people don't understand is that the moment they cue in, now the driver and co-driver cannot talk, right? That eliminates the intercom talking. So, you know, we're listening to whatever, even if they're just standing on the mic, right? We can't talk anymore. So it's pretty frustrating when you're in the race car.
Well, I would love to get a list consolidated of all the racers so everybody agrees, you know, and everybody's on the same protocol. And, you know, I'd love to, but it's really hard because it's gotten a little out of control because there's so many racers.
So many racers,
Well, then you got crew guys on the team.
Yeah, Deb's got another question.
Anthony, Travis, Andre, but what radio do you recommend for a chase truck?
So, chase truck. So that means you're either racing Baja. So you're racing Baja for that. I would do a VHF for Baja racing. We're using VHF,
Which is back to this.
Yeah, back to a commercial band VHF radio. So that's what I would use. If you ran one of ours, I would use our RDMDB.
Yeah.
A lot of what we're doing is going digital.
Do we have one of those here?
I don't think I have one in here.
No. Okay.
So it's a little different than some of the radios we have in the picture here.
Okay.
But we're also making a massive transition to digital. Okay. So like our RDMDB is analog and digital. Now, so like for you guys, we have a lot of new stuff coming. So stay tuned for what we're going to have them set up with for the near future in race radios. We're going to radically change the game.
That's gonna be really exciting.
Yeah, we're kind of beta testing some stuff, right?
So you're going to have a lot of things that are going to be just state of the art in communications.
Awesome.
So like our new RDMDB, that's a digital radio. So it can transmit in digital or it can transmit in analog. So that's really important because once you get into the digital revolution, what it does is it only transmits your voice. So when you start talking back and forth, when your pit crew calls you, you're just going to hear their voice. When you call them, they're just going to hear your voice.
No background.
No noise.
Cleans it up.
We have built-in text messaging. So we have the burst technology in text messaging. So you could have pre-programmed text in it, and then you can send it flat tire. You can send.
We're fine.
We're
right?
fine.
Yeah.
You know, rolled over, we're fine. You could have pre-programmed things and send messages.
Hopefully we're not rolled over.
Well, you passed the rolled over car. Okay. Sorry. I said that different. You passed the competitor that rolled over, and now you're in first place.
if that's pre-programmed,
Yeah.
you're doing it wrong, man.
But yeah, for the guy that asked the question, the RDMDB would be the best radio that we have right now for a chase truck. And chase trucks are very important because there's a lot of times you guys go out and you put all this effort into your race car and do all that, and then you get a buddy that can volunteer his time and you don't know what radio he has.
Yeah.
And your communications are only as good as the person you're talking to. It's very important.
But one thing I want to touch upon is when you have a chase truck. What I'd like you to do is talk to our team on your chase truck, send a picture of your chase truck so we can tell you the proper antenna location. Because just like we saw here today, one of your employees had the rack that was right next to the antenna, and that'll radically interfere with the antenna. So no matter what radio you go with, what we would like to do is we're educating how to put the proper antenna placement. Because no matter how powerful a radio you have or what you have, if you don't have the right antenna and you don't have the right placement, it's not going to work well.
Yep.
So be sure to, no matter what you buy, just give us a call. We'll consult with you and tell you what to do with your vehicle.
Yep. All right, Deb, you got
Our friends at Alien Fab 4x4 asked if there was a combo set, one radio that covers the CB channels and your channels.
So there's not. So that to do AM, CB, and VHF radios, it is not FCC legal to do that. So you can't do that. The FCC has made a lot of rule changes and things, especially in the last 2 years. A lot of things have changed, and they've really tightened down on a lot of different things. I wish there was a combo. Now, we make multi-radio interfaces. We do things like that. Like I have a multi-radio interface that you can put 3 radios into one hand mic. Or 3 radios into your intercom. So that allows you the interoperability to change. So I do command vehicles for the police. So in command vehicles, I can put 3, 6, 9 radios into one system. So then they can talk on all these different channels and select which ones they want to talk on. But
But that's still like
That's still-
VHF or
Yeah.
That's still
right.
individual radios that are merged into one unit.
Yeah.
You can't have merged into a separate unit.
Well, and I think this question is coming from when you were talking about digital and analog.
Yeah.
They were thinking, oh, I can do all of these things.
Yeah, I would love it if you could. If you could do that, I would be all over it. But I unfortunately you can't do that.
No, even at EJS, we had a GMRS, one of our mobiles in the vehicle, and then we had a lot of our race teams, race ambassadors and things were out there, and so we had one of our handheld V3s in the Jeep as well. So a lot of times, fortunately, it's like VHF, DVD, Betamax.
Yeah.
It all's the same thing, but it just does it in a different format.
Well,
Yeah.
and you know what? This is a good question. So don't think that this is a very common question, because look at how many CBs out there. I just talked to one of my son's friends. He bought a truck. He's going to do some overlanding. The first thing he did was go out and buy a CB radio, because that's what I got to have.
Right.
And the CB radios, they still sell a lot of them. They
Yeah.
don't work very well, but everybody thinks they have to have them. So now you have a group of people with CBs, and you have half the group on GMRS radios, and they can't talk to each other. Well, how do I talk to each other? You know what? It's just going to take a little time,
Yeah.
because this is the future in things. It's like racing is VHF, play is going to be GMRS radios, and it's just going to take some time for all those to filter, into the new way of doing
Sure.
things.
And I do want to mention one thing. You said that this will talk to an FRS radio.
Yeah.
But that's smaller, like less power, right?
Yeah, FRS is basically your toy.
Yeah.
When you get your grandkid or your kid, for $10 at Walmart.
Yeah, so-
It'll
so-
talk to it, but not well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The FRS radios are rated to a very low radiation factor. So they have the radiating frequencies around it. They're regulated to a very tight tolerance. So you have to have, most of them aren't even 1 watt now.
Wow.
So most of them are 3/4 of a watt or half watt. They're made for kids. So when you're holding the radio, the radiating factor that's around you, they're held to they made some changes in the last couple of years. So the tolerance is so tight on it that they don't go very far.
Well, and I remember Debbie and I had them for when I was backing up the RV.
Sure.
She would get on one, and obviously that's 100 feet or whatever,
Yeah.
so it's not far.
For that, it worked great.
Right. Okay. All right. What else you got?
Corey Lone Wolf Picard asked if the Rugged crew will be on the Colorado trip.
We haven't been invited.
So one of the events we're going to is Rock Junction out of Grand Junction. It's the first week of June.
Awesome.
So I know you guys do a lot of events. I don't
Yeah.
even know if that's on your radar.
Well, that would be fun to take a look at that event, and it'd be fun maybe if we could, even if we worked out being there at the beginning of the event.
Sure.
Help people get
Spend
set
a
up,
day.
spend a day,
Yeah.
get everybody dialed in so
Yeah.
everybody has a great trip. That would be fun to do. And, the race events, man, they're hard, they're tough. The events like this are fun.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that I want to do more of.
Yeah.
I mean, we do Rugged Radius. We do about 92 events a year. Okay, when everything changed, with COVID and everything that happened, our events stopped. Tell you what, it was man, we get a break. We got to break 92 events a year. I have these trailers all over everywhere, from Mexico to back east. I mean, we can't even publish our event calendar because it's so overwhelming.
Right.
That it's hard and it burns our crew out. But
No, but I saw you guys at Trail Hero.
Yeah.
I mean, you're hitting a lot of the.
we're hitting a lot of
Yeah,
the
we're
Jeep.
EJS.
Yeah.
Because you know what, we love Jeep.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that you guys do as a company. I mean, and you're very focused in what you do. And I mean, we would love to be focused in one spot, but Jeeping, and it's a family event.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about it. You get to go with your family and you're having fun.
Yep.
And then when your kids get older and they're driving, and like my son has a Jeep, my wife has a Jeep, I have a Jeep, my son has a Jeep. We love Jeep.
Yeah.
And
And even when we do our KOH experience, we do the entire narration on a race
On a
radio.
radio, yeah.
So it's one of those things where if you want to hear everything we're talking about, that's how you got to do it. So
the only thing I don't like about your KOH experience, it's after KOH. Okay,
You're like, I want to go home.
so we're so tired that as soon as we're done, we're just
You're
like
out of
pedaled to the metal, and we're out of here. We're the first dust
You're like,
you see
"Get me
getting off the
out."
bed.
You're like, get me out of here.
Yeah, now that Jordan's the main racer for our family, you know, it used to be me having to like navigate and narrate the whole thing, and now it's all him.
Yeah.
So I'm just driving and letting him talk about, you know, this happened here and there, and so it's good. What else you got?
Your buddy Kelly Sims, how much for a radio like Jordan's?
Oh.
110 watts.
Yeah,
And how
he's
much
got
better
that
is that
road
than my
face,
radio?
Kenwood, you know.
So a lot of the radios, for one, radio production, like everything is struggling in, like the Kenwood is really struggling in radio production right now, so they're hard to get. People are asking these big prices for them right now, so they're really expensive.
How much are those things? I don't even know.
Now they're $2,500.
Oh.
I mean, the thing is this, because they're now manufacturing all the digital standards now, so prices have come way up. Components have gotten super short, so a lot of radio factories are really struggling with that. Now, we make 50-watt radios. We have more coming. We've been pouring on the coals and tooling production, and we have a ton of component stock to build.
Okay, so Kelly's radio, his antenna was mounted just like Jeff's and just like Jamie's off that back corner. So Kelly, what they told them was it needs to go on the roof.
Well, a properly installed radio, a lower wattage properly installed radio will work really, really well.
So the thing about it is this: when people ask me all the time about 50-watt radios, 110-watt radios, so it doesn't. So when you go from a 5-watt handheld to a 25-watt radio, that's your biggest jump. Okay, then you go from 25 watts to 50 watts, you get a smaller jump. Going from 50 to 110, you're gaining about 20%. It's not equal, double the wattage, double the power. It only is about 20%. Well, this is the thing. If you have a properly placed, properly tuned antenna and proper cable and everything for your radio, and your grounding is right, and you're putting out maximum wattage in your 50-watt radio, it outperforms most of the 110-watt radios, because most of the 110s, they're not properly installed, the antenna's not right, it's not tuned. Now, if you have a properly tuned 110-watt radio, it can have that 20% more power, 20% more distance, because not power and distance don't equal 1 for 1. So it doesn't equal like that. So what it'll do is, anything you have, if you have a 110-watt radio, great. It's a great radio. But have the proper antenna, get an SWR meter, make sure your cable isn't all coiled up, any extra wires, make sure your cable is cut to length or it's routed perfect, and it's routed away from any other things that can create interference. And then you can get the most out of your radio. So
Yeah, and Kelly, they were talking to Lee today, one of our install techs, and gave him a bunch of tech tips on how to do that. So maybe Lee can even take a look at his Jeep next time it's in. I'll say something funny for Kelly because he's a buddy of mine. Most of the time, Kelly, I can't hear you because I just turned the volume down.
okay, well, you know what? Hey, Kelly, I'm glad Tony has one friend. I'm glad.
For now.
Good job, Kelly. Good job. Hey, but you know what? Too, one other quick thing on that is also we have a state-of-the-art facility that we just built. We're going to have a full center for for installs, things like that.
So if somebody wants to drive
So
up
if somebody
here.
wanted to drive up there,
Yeah.
they can come up. And anytime somebody wants to come by our building and talk tech with us, please come by.
Yeah, and again, you're at a lot of events. So they're up in Arroyo Grande, if you don't know. That's the Pismo area. And that's really just a few hours north of here. Is it 2 or? Yeah, it's a couple of
About 2
hours.
hours.
2.5, yeah.
So if you know where we are, it's not much further. It's a nice drive. You're driving along the coast most of the time.
Yeah, come see us. Come drive on Pismo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There, and how long till you're in the fully in the new facility?
3 weeks.
Okay.
So
give them a month.
Yeah.
Give them get set.
give us a month, but
Yeah.
our facility is awesome.
Yeah, I've
It
seen
is.
some
I mean, it is a
pictures,
state of the art. I built it. The whole entire complex is us. We've got a bitch and rugged building. I've got a full fab shop. I've got a shop, our museum for all of our cars, and I've got tacos and coffee.
Yeah, that's good. I know I'm going to be there
I
as
know.
soon as he tells me.
I gotta go.
So,
That's
All right,
cool.
what else you got?
Peter Doolin, under what circumstances do we need a ham radio license?
If you're using a ham radio. So if you have a ham radio, like if you go to ham radio outlets, a lot of people buy ham radios, and you need a ham radio license to operate it.
Because that's in a different frequency range.
Yeah, it's in a little bit different frequency range in UHF and VHF. So the ham channels, if you look them up online, they'll show you the dedicated channels that are for that. And if you buy a ham radio, like we sell ham radios, we have an ABM radio, and to operate that radio, you need to have a ham radio license.
Okay.
Brigitta Hopkins, I have an RM60 in my Jeep. Do you sell replacement mounting screws? One of the screws of one of the bolts on my radio to the mounting bracket fell out, and now my radio rattles.
That's got to be a common question, right? Because I know that's happened to me.
That's happened to me too.
So what I would do with this, I would call and speak to Anna. So in our tech department, Anna, she's awesome. Just tell her that you talked to us on the Tech Talk with Tony,
Yep.
that you're on Tech Talk, and she'd be more than happy to put a bag of the 4 screws and send them out to you in the mail.
Awesome. There's customer service. I like it.
And she also added, is there a way to brighten the screen? During certain lighting conditions, it's very hard to read.
So in the programming, you can change some of the functions of the screen. I know that with that particular radio, sometimes
That's this one, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sometimes with this radio, you know what, we addressed a lot of the screen quality in a lot of our new products, okay? Because we keep learning. Because what would happen is, if you didn't have it angled just right at your visual cue, if you're looking at it straight on, you can see it fine. But if you're so many degrees off, it made it a little bit harder. So I'm with you on there. And you know, maybe sometime if you take a look at some of our new products, maybe you can trade that radio in and upgrade to one of the new products. Or see, I would love to say yes on that front screen, but it depends on the angle that you're looking at it. So what you might try and do is, depending on where you have it mounted, if you could angle it a little further to see if that helps your view, the optical view of that screen.
And a lot of times you get really dusty. Make sure you wipe it off and keep it clean.
Yeah,
So
I've
you
had
don't
that
start
trouble. Yeah.
VB Tom, where's a good place to mount the antenna on a soft top Jeep?
Oh man, we were talking about this earlier. We were talking about this earlier. Oh man, so proper placement of an antenna. Okay, so that's where it all starts. Okay, center of a metal roof. What Jeep has a metal roof?
Well, that one not a soft top.
Okay,
right?
so it's like center of metal roof is the optimal spot for an antenna on a Jeep. Okay, but you don't have that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we made a little driver's side and passenger side fender mount. So it's on our website, so you can see.
if I had something.
Is that the optimal spot?
It's kind of right here.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's right
Off
there.
the A pillar.
It's right opposite your
Regular
regular
AM/FM
AM/FM radio antenna. It's opposite. Is it technically the best spot? No, because best spot is center of metal roof. But Jeeps are difficult. Now, when you're in a convoy, that antenna location works great. So when you're out Jeeping, you're not going that far. It works really well. We talked about earlier, we have a metal plate that you could put a mag mount on the center of the
Roll
hard
cage
top
or something.
Well, on the hard
Yeah.
top.
Fiberglass tops and everything.
You know, on that. So when you have a soft top and you're taking it off, the problem is this: you don't want to put a hole through your soft top.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. I would say the fender mount, the side just right at the 8-pillar mount that we have, I'd take a look at that and see what you think. Some people mount them off of the tire, but that also has its limitations. And I was talking to you earlier about when you're putting them on the tire carrier. Now you got to run the cable through the rear door,
Through the door,
and it is always moving and bending the cable. Antenna cables aren't meant to move and bend or get slammed in a door all the time. Eventually they'll break. So the thing is this, that's why that 8-pillar mount works well, because you can go right through the body and go into
And then
the
you're not
chassis.
flexing it a bunch of times.
Then you're not flexing it. So, but it's hard. We're trying to come up with the best system. I even talked to you earlier about the stick-on.
Yeah. So the main thing every time I asked them, well, what about here? What about here? it all related back to getting slammed by the door, right? Or we're flexing it a zillion times. So, kinking that cable, because isn't the center solid? So the moment you break that, then it's done.
You know what? And we have a couple different cables, because we have some that we try to make that are braided cable that are more flexible than others, but they're not meant to be smashed or bent in a door all the time.
Yeah.
So for the problem that we have is this: your product's going to work for a while, but at some point it's going to break. Then it doesn't work. Then you don't turn your radio on until you get out to your event with your friends and you're out
it's
wheeling
broken.
and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then you're upset with me that my radio doesn't work. And I'm trying really hard. And you know what? I would love input from Jeep owners. How do we build the best product, or get the better install, or route a cable in it? I own 3 Jeeps, from an LJ, a JK, and my JL.
Yeah.
So I've got all of them, but I'm still trying to figure it out. And you have variety of tops. I would love customer input on this. I'd love you to call my tech team and give us ideas, and we would even help prototype and make ideas and send them to you and let you try them and tell us what you think.
Well, there you go.
We just got a plasma table, we got a laser, so we can do a lot of things now. My whole thing with getting this is we're not going to do production on stuff, but we're going to do prototypes.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful, because there's 20,000 people who are going to call your office now with new ideas.
As long as they all want the same thing.
Hey, make me a bracket that bolts to my.
Yep, exactly. But you know what's funny is we now have a system that we log every call and do that, because what we also do is, how many times do people give us an idea or have a question, or we're answering things, so now we can start evaluating.
That's right, and getting something more standardized, yeah.
But that's why going to events, I love it when I can go to an event, to a fun event, where I can talk to people. Because I come here and I'm looking around and I'm looking at your Jeeps and I'm looking like, wait a minute, that's wrong. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, Tony, those 2 extra antennas that you wanted to save us here, no.
Don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know what? I learned so much from talking to people that that's what I do. I'm not a race. I've raced plenty of cars before and done my thing in motorcycles and jet skis and everything else. And man, I just love what I do. And I go out to talk to people that are using products and using any kind of products. And I love that networking and talking to people. So if you see me at an event, come up and say hi.
Yeah.
Okay, I love talking to my customers.
All right, what else you got, hon?
Greg Mina, for those doing Jeep-sponsored Jamborees and GMRS is now required. What do you recommend they purchase? That usually involves 3 to 5 events a year, mostly on the East Coast.
All right. Our GMR2 is our handheld. It's a brand new product for us. It's an absolutely great radio. It's perfect for all the Jeep Jamborees and playing and everything else. If you want something mounted in the Jeep, we have 2 options. We have the GMR 25. That is a waterproof 25-watt radio.
Is it also handheld?
No, that is a mobile that mounts
Base
inside
mount,
the Jeep.
okay.
That's a base mount.
Okay.
And then we have a GMR 45. It's not a waterproof radio, but it's a high-powered GMRS. It's one of the most powerful GMRS radios on the market.
Cool.
So we have those 3 options for you.
And the waterproof is good for a guy who doesn't have a top on his Jeep. Is that kind of?
Oh, absolutely, it's
Yeah.
great. And we have a JK mount for that, so it goes up above your
Mirror.
rear view mirror
Oh,
there.
wow.
And for anyone that doesn't have an S-Pod or something up there,
Oh,
it works
excellent.
really good.
Yeah, we're also, a lot of people don't know that we're a Motorola dealer. I've been a long time Motorola dealer, and we also sell the Motorola GMRS radios. A lot of them are really low wattage because of all the restrictions. Like our new radios, we designed this around all the latest in regulations so we can maximize everything. A lot of radios weren't designed, our old tooling and old things that they've had for a long time, that weren't designed around all the new specifications. So we have done everything possible to maximize the latest in FCC rules and regulations.
So is the GMRS a lot smaller than this?
No, I have one that has the same mounting size as that particular radio.
Okay, so but like the 25.
The 25 one is much
That's a little bit
smaller.
smaller.
It is?
So the 45 watt is the same size as that traditional radio
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, whenever you go into, you know what's funny is you look at the components in a 25 watt, 50 watt, or 110 watt, same components. Okay, it's the same components. It's all about heat sink. So the aluminum body to dissipate heat of the amplifier.
Because that 110.
bigger.
That 110 watt is
big.
giant. If you
Yeah.
got into if you got into the components that is in that radio, it's about the same as a 25 watt radio. It's pretty funny. All the platforms are exactly the same.
That's interesting.
So that heavy brick, it's all aluminum heatsink. You know what car amplifier? You know when they show this giant car amplifiers, that big aluminum
Yeah.
fins and everything on it. It's just a little tiny circuit board inside. Okay, it's just dissipating the heat of the amplifiers.
Huh.
All right, Deb, what else you got?
Viewer Rick Harrington, are rugged radios manufactured here in the U.S. or in China? Are you having issues with supply chain that is going to increase costs? If so, when do you see that supply chain getting better? 4 to 8 months? And will the price go down at that point in time?
So with all the price increases that have come to with everything in materials and everything else, we haven't had any price increases. And we don't plan on having any price increases. The thing is is we do everything we can to have the lowest possible price or lower prices. If I hit production goals, I lower prices. I've had that basic concept for 30 years and it's been successful for me. Sometimes when I up levels in manufacturing, I'm producing in such high numbers that my production costs come down, so I lower prices. So I don't foresee any cost increases. Now, made in the USA. I would love to make in the USA. Virtually we can't. I don't know of a radio manufacturer that's made in the USA. I don't know of a television manufacturer made in the USA or electronics piece that's made in the USA. It's becoming very scarce and it's hard with rules and regulations and manufacturing and solder you can use and everything else on circuit boards. It's really tough.
But you are a U.S. based company.
We
that
are a
employs
US-based
a lot of U.S. people.
We are a U.S. based company. We design and build. We design all of our products. Okay, people don't know that I have designed like all of our intercoms, all of our cables. I designed our specialty cabling. I have an individually shielded twisted pair in that cable. It's a special cable for intercoms. I personally designed that. I revolutionized the headset whereby you putting the universal 5-pin jack. Now, made in China, yes, some of our products. My main factory, that is my factory for our intercoms, is in Seoul, Korea. That's where we manufacture our headsets, our intercoms, our cables. We subcontract another manufacturer in China for our radios. We do the tooling, we do all the design of 100% on our radios. Like this radio is 100% designed by us. And that's what we do. Yes, made in China. I'd love to make it in the United States.
And are you seeing a bunch of production delays because of everything going on, or are you doing okay on inventory?
So we're doing great on inventory. So when the start of all this started coming, what happened was this. I saw the need in Japan. Most of the components to build radios. So Kenwood, Motorola, us, ICOM, most of that we use all the same components. So it's all the same components in a lot of our radios. So it's not that one radio is better than the other and everything else. A lot of the radios, I mean, we share all the same components. In Japan, there's a main factory that builds our components. A year ago, there was a factory fire. So just before COVID started, there was a factory fire, and I said, you know what? Components are going to get scarce. So we bought up everything we could. Okay, everything we could in radios. So I've got enough radios to build them for years. I've got enough components for a long time. Now, when it comes to components, this is where like the FCC steps in. So say, for instance, if all of a component is no longer available from a factory, okay, and I want to put a new component in, a new part number, it can do the exact same job, but it's a different model number. You have to have a Class 2 change. So we have to submit to the FCC and get a Class 2 change. So anytime we change anything in the radio, we get a Class 2 change. It's a process you just have to go to. So one thing is I bought up enough components that I don't have to change my product for a while. Now other radio manufacturers are having a hard time with getting components because I bought up most of them. So the thing is this, right now I don't foresee any supply chain issues with products for the next couple years. Now, metal products, we have had some issues.
Sure, like the antenna mounts and some
Antenna
of that kind
mounts,
of stuff, or the radio mounts themselves.
We have a company here in the United States in California that a lot of people use that do laser cutting and bending and things like that. We design all of our products. We send the files to it, just like if you have, so you guys have drawings and you guys design all your stuff and you weld it all together. And so what we do is those products, we make a lot of things in the United States like that. We sell a lot of U.S. made products. If we can, we do it. But we are having some supply issues because metal is getting scarce. And to be honest, our volume is so high right now. Our business is up so much. We are doing everything we can to have everything in stock. We very rarely ever back order, or if we're back ordered, we're only a short time. More is coming in, and we can fill all of that.
And you have a lot of options, even for antenna mounts, right? So you could say, you wanted that one, but we do have this one, or right?
We generally have something that works.
Something, yeah.
And I want to reiterate something Greg said. It's very important to us is we don't intend to raise our prices. We work really hard to try and maintain our prices or lower our prices and make our products more accessible for everybody. That's a huge focus of what we do.
You know what's interesting is my dad taught me a basic concept years ago. And he said, can you replace a customer or replace a product? Okay? You can never replace a customer. We want to make sure that we take care of our customers. We give them a good value. We give them good support. We're all about the customer. And you know what? This is the thing. If I can offer something at a better value, hey, you know what? It's probably going to up my production levels. So I'm all about, a lot of companies focus on margin. I focus on volume, margin. I look at the whole package. I think to myself, well, you know what? If I lower the margin, I bet you I could double the production. Okay, and I look at it on the consumer
and
level.
get that economy of scale. Yeah.
It's funny. When I learned this concept, I was in the aviation business. I was the second largest aviation headset manufacturer in the world. We're big into aviation, so people don't know. Like, we have the #1 selling headset on Amazon. We sell, millions of dollars in aviation headsets. It's just crazy. But years ago, I had two models. So I had this 400 and 800. So what I did was, they were almost the same models, but a couple different features. I combined them together and made the 454, and I lowered the price. And everybody says, what are you doing? I lowered the price. And it was funny, the production skyrocketed, because I was able to offer that better value. And we had all the same features. It was just a couple dollars more in the 400, but a lot less than the 800, and it took off. And I'm like, this concept works.
There you go. All right,
Brigida Hopkins, do you offer a trade-in option? I might have to look at a newer radio. What do you have that's comparable to the RM60?
We don't have a trade-in option. We've talked about it a lot, though, and if that's something people are interested in, we'd really love to entertain that and give people an opportunity to upgrade to the newest stuff. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah, give us a call and talk to my team. In the sales department, talk to Randy. He's one of my top guys. Tell him what you have. Tell him what you're doing with it. Maybe we can help you get you in the right direction for what you're doing.
Yep.
Because not knowing exactly what you do as far as chase truck, play Jeep, whatever else you're doing, but I would say give Randy a call and talk to him.
Some of the radios we have are 12 years old, and they're still working just fine.
Yeah.
Maybe they need a newer antenna.
Well, that's the thing
Right.
that's the thing is, what's wrong with your system today? Maybe we can help you correct it, or maybe a squelch setting is too high, or whatever else
or a
which you
noise
have.
filter or whatever, right?
Yeah, we might be able to help you at just by a couple parts that fixes what you have now.
Sure.
Again, call in.
Yeah.
Okay.
George Bood, can you run a CB and the rugged radio antenna together, or will that cause interference?
You know what? You can't because. So if I'm understanding the question, you want to run one antenna for both.
I think he was saying, could they just be mounted near each other?
You really shouldn't. I would put them away from each other if you're going to do it.
Like on opposite sides of the vehicle.
Opposite sides of the vehicle, or I would put, say, we talked about our A-pillar mount on our antenna, and then have your CB on the back.
Okay.
Something
Just
like
get 'em
that.
away from each other.
A lot of people ask us if I can run one antenna. Okay, you can't,
No.
because the tuning of them is so radically different that it just won't work.
Our viewer John Stravino has a ham license. Can I have a radio with both ham and commercial frequency bands?
So you have a ham radio license that allows you to use but it depends on what ham radio license. If you have a technician's license, I believe on the technician license, you can transmit on some of the commercial bands, but truly in the commercial band frequencies, you need to have a commercial band license. So a ham license just a basic ham license doesn't allow you to transmit on everything. It allows you to transmit on the ham channels.
Rick Harrington says, thanks so much for the outstanding answers, President Rugged Ride.
Nice. You know what the thing is this, we're always a phone call away. I love it when people ask us questions because also it tells us, I listen to the questions that people are asking because that helps us tell us our path and our directions.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because when one person had a question, there's 10 more that had the same question that didn't ask.
Yeah.
Right? So okay.
Well, and that's something with our company. We got people standing by to pick up a phone. We want you to call. Like there's a lot of companies now that are just kind of
you get to voicemail.
you just use the website. No,
Get a robot.
You know what? I always resisted press 1 for this, 2 for that, blah, 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 blah.
Me too.
I finally put 3 keys in just because we have so many employees. I want to have a shortcut for sales, marketing, or tech. So when you call in, those are the 3 options you get.
And then you get a live person.
And you, as soon as you hit that, you go directly to a live person. I've got 42, 44 people I lose count now. Okay, and we are always there to pick up the phone.
Awesome.
Okay, or if you leave a voicemail, you will get a call back. I even have people that work on the weekends. So I have people set up that if they want to work from home on the weekends, they can work from home, answer the phone calls. We do everything possible for customer service.
Good.
Awesome.
What else
That's
you got?
good to know. Ryan Dunn, what is the Bluetooth system that Tony and Jordan use in their race cars for when the co-driver is out of the car? So that the co-driver can talk to the driver when not plugged in?
That's a good question.
Good question. The wireless co-driver, and just so you know, we're in a major revamp of those systems. So a lot of new technology is coming because Qualcomm, who makes our chips for us, we work directly with the engineers at Qualcomm. So they are the Bluetooth chip manufacturer. In fact, all your Bluetooth chips, you have to pay them for the licensing for Bluetooth.
Really?
So it's really interesting. We've learned a lot about Bluetooth, and that system works, and it works now, but the new technology is coming. I can't wait.
Well, I know they pulled it out of my Terremoto and said, we're going to get you a new, whatever this new thing is. So what is it? Tell people and how much it costs. And
So what it does right now is it allows you to have a wireless co-driver because Ultra 4 and what you do is very unique. Okay? You have a co-driver that gets out of the race car. I mean, in Baja, normally we get a flat tire in Baja, we get something. In Class 11, we're by ourselves. Okay? So,
and it's not loud, right?
It's not loud. I don't have 100 other people behind me coming up on
You're
us.
not in a rush.
Yeah. So the thing is this, and normally Class 11 is the last person on the course kind of thing. But the thing is this, we get out of the car, we change a tire, or both of us get out of the car. Now, in your type of situation, you're driving, your co-driver has to get out, hook up the winch you up what you're doing. It's critical, that communication. So we do 2 things. We do the wireless Bluetooth setup. We also do a very easy setup, which is a 2-way radio. So we have a small little 2-way radio. We'll put one of our blue radios. We have a short cord that goes to the helmet. So you get out of the car, you unplug, you plug into your system, and that way they're on, because a lot of times you're giving directions.
And that's way less expensive.
Yeah, that's way less expensive because the Bluetooth stuff we're $650,
something like that.
on.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I'm not happy with that price.
Oh, well, price-wise, but the function is awesome.
No, function's awesome.
Yeah.
So, but I'm working with Qualcomm directly. How can I want to produce that product at a lower price because I want to make it affordable to put in every race car. So I'm working on that right now to improve. We have some big improvements coming. And when you talked about earlier, that one customer mentioned price increases. This is one area that I'm looking to lower the cost because I think I can get the production levels way up, offer a product that can go to more people, and that's going to lower the cost.
Yeah. And I can tell you from personal experience using that Bluetooth, it's priceless.
Oh, yeah.
When you need it, because you can't see the co-driver. So, and hand signals don't work. So having him, and it's just like he's sitting in the car.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So
Yeah, and then what's great with the racing teams is we get to develop these cool products that get carried over into recreation.
Yeah.
So now you don't have a helmet on, but you have a headset on, but you want your buddy to hop out and, hey, spot me over this
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
I don't want to,
Yeah.
And so it works the same way with, now you don't have a helmet, but you have a headset. But it's
Yeah.
the same kind of device,
Yeah.
same works the
That's
same
cool.
way.
Very cool.
That's cool. I think Gunnar was using the little radio this year.
was he?
Yeah, but we used the Bluetooth unit in the UTV.
So
it was
the
cool to see.
radio, I'll tell you guys what's interesting about this is, say you brake and you're way down in a canyon. The co-driver can walk somewhere with this and get out
call
to
out,
the team.
So your Bluetooth is always going to have limitations. Okay, it's always going to have limitations on distance. So some of the things that some people were doing, I saw some built-in that they were installing Bluetooths and helmets. We never do that. We always do a box on the outside of the helmet, because I saw some that people were putting lithium polymer batteries right next to you.
God.
And I worry about dangers of batteries and things like that. We don't modify helmets, so I won't do that because it's a huge liability and structural strength of the helmets. And you're in a race car, you need to be protected.
Yeah.
And so we do things on the outside, but Bluetooth has its limitations. You're in canyons, you're in rocks. You might have your co-drivers just on the other side of that rock, and you can't talk to him. So we're working on ways for more distance. Yes, your handheld radios. I always recommended a handheld in the car.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Me too.
because
Oh yeah.
is if you see that team that's upside down and their antenna's broken off, well, when your car is upside down and
It's
your
not
antenna's
working.
in the dirt, it's not going to transmit out.
At all.
Funny story was, a buddy of mine used to race a 16 car in the desert. He would roll every single race, every time, but he was one of the winners.
So he had the pre-programmed, we're rolled over.
So I put an antenna A/B switch, and I put an antenna on the bottom of the car.
Oh my
So when he was upside down, he could switch to the other antenna and call his team.
That is fun.
And true story, I did that 25 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
That is
That's
hilarious.
funny. What do you got, Ed?
Joe Hank, I have a VHF RM60. Is there a reason to change to UHV? And what's the most common channel you all use on the VHF radios?
So, for one, is there a use to change to UHF? Well, if the group that you're driving, that you're wheeling with or going with is UHF, yeah, you'd want to change it because it's two totally different platforms. So if your group is currently using VHF, keep it. Channels, our stock list that we put in there, if you go to our website, those are really commonly used channels. For us, we have the rugged channel in there that we currently use. If we're out on a trip, you could go over to the rugged and hear us talking or talk to us.
Yeah.
So
I think the most common is Weatherman. Like,
Yeah,
I
like-
hear everybody, go to Weatherman.
The
Well-
best channel to be on is the one no one else is on. But
yeah, I mean, and 151.625, it's a dot frequency. It's one of the FCC allocated channels in there, and that's a really commonly used channel. But I would say go through our stock list and find which channel is the best for us. So there's not one that I could say is the best. But the one thing is this: whenever channels you have in there, your antenna tuning. So antenna tuning is really important. So we always tune in the center of like our frequency pack.
Out of the box.
So that way
Yeah.
it's good. It's tuned for the middle, but it'll kind of go both
Good on both
directions.
ways, yeah.
Okay, but it's not 100% on the bottom and not 100% on the top. So if you find, like I use this channel all the time, I'd recommend tuning your antenna for that channel.
The bottom, so you mentioned Weatherman's like 151.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of our channels are way up 153, 154.
Yeah.
Well, is the bottom 151 or is there something lower?
No, 151, a lot of people, I don't recommend going any lower than that. Some people do, and then you could go up to 155, 156. You could go up a lot further with it. So that's why I say, once you find in your VHF radio, once you find, hey, this is what I'm using all the time, tune your antenna. We sell all the equipment for you to tune your antenna.
Okay.
If you come by and see us, we can teach you how to tune antennas or tune it for you. But definitely, if you want the maximum performance, tune your antenna.
Do you guys have any videos on YouTube or anything about how to tune in?
we do have an SWR.
Yeah, I do have an SWR video
Good.
up there
Okay.
on how to do it.
So there you go.
Yep.
What else you got?
Well, we've got more questions than we have time for today, but Scott Durkin is curious if there's a large performance difference between the small compact antenna versus the long antennas.
So we just came out with a stealth antenna, so a little stubby antenna.
Like how small? Like your fingers are like this big?
3 inches. It's only about
Really?
this high.
Like this
Yeah,
high?
It's
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
short. It's about the height of just this radio body. So we did that because a lot of people in Glamis, they take their car, they put it in the toy hauler, and they don't take off their antenna.
Oh,
Rip it
just
right off.
smash it.
Yeah.
And Danny Stevens, he has an X3. One of our customers has a really cool car. We did some custom stuff for him. I gave him that antenna, and I said, here, try this. He's like, oh my gosh, the greatest thing in the world. I'll never hit it in the top of the toy hauler. And I asked him, I said, give me your honest opinion. Okay, test it. Tell me distance. Because it's really hard to say. I hear claims of handheld radios, 36 miles. Come on, that's not realistic. Okay, it is not realistic. All these claims that these companies make that they go all these big distances. So I said, listen, test it and tell me what you think. Okay, because, you know, we can go, he's going, say, 10 miles on his regular antenna or 8 miles. What does this little stubby do? So he says, you know what, when we're driving car to car
It's
in
fine.
Glamis, it's great. I'm not going to talk the Glamis store to the Glamis Flats. He says, I'm not going to talk that far with the stubby antenna. But in the convoy of everybody together, you're 1-2 miles apart, man, it worked fantastic. I love it. It's perfect for me.
Okay, so does that screw on just like the bigger antenna?
Yes.
You just,
Yeah.
It does.
Go,
Okay.
go, goes
So
on the
you
same
can go
mount.
back and forth.
You should buy one of each.
Nice.
Now, a lot of people, it's like I said, there's a perfect place for your antenna, middle of a metal roof.
Yeah.
And we have an antenna or our half wave antenna is perfectly tuned for our radios. That's what we recommend. But there's other options too for people. You know, the guy pulling in his Jeep out of his garage every night doesn't want to smack his antenna. If you're not transmitting that far, get what works for you.
I know when I pull my Jeep in and I hear that thing hit, I'm like, what did I just do? You
Well, and the thing is this, depends on where you're mounting it,
Mm-hmm.
okay? If you're talking about our A-pillar mount that we were talking about earlier for a Jeep,
and now this thing's buried way
I
down
wouldn't
there.
put that little stubby
No,
antenna.
no,
You need
want
to
the-
get the top of that antenna
Get it
up
up on
as
the rack,
high as
yeah.
you can. So I wouldn't recommend that. So yes, it'll have some performance in close range, but it'll hurt. Antennas are difficult. And now, if you had center of a metal roof, you see on police cars, Highway Patrol uses VHF. Okay, so they have some of those stubby antennas. They have a giant metal roof. That's a big ground plane. That actually makes the antenna perform better. So those type of situations, hey, that antenna
Right.
doesn't work that bad.
Right, we're back to, fiberglass roof or soft top on a Jeep. That's no ground plane.
Yeah.
So, what else you got? Ann?
Well, we have a shout out to Greg from a couple of viewers, one of them being Michael McGarity. You probably both know him.
Great guy.
Great job, Greg, in answering all the FCC questions that many on social media continuously mislead people and say false information. Also appreciate the clarification made of parts outside USA coming up. Great job. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
And-
Thank you, Michael. And tell you what, you talk about a man that's fighting for our off-road community.
Yeah.
Oh man, with Friends of Oceana Dunes, our dunes are important to us. It's right in our backyard. Pismo Dunes is right where we're at, and the fight that he is putting up for our off-road community is incredible. And the Friends of Oceana Dunes, an amazing group of people. I can't say enough about them.
Yep. Good
And-
job, Mike. Sorry I missed him at Calico.
Yeah, you two have several questions to answer offline.
Okay.
Okay?
We can do that. So we're out of time. We're actually 15 minutes over. I know. It went quick.
It goes
That's
fast.
So we're an hour and 15. Any last stuff you guys want to just that we didn't touch on? I
think-
rattled off a lot.
I think one of the most
questions.
important things is that the new radio we're talking about is the GMR2, and what we're getting really excited about is especially in the Jeep community is Jamborees moving to GMRS radios. We view GMRS as the new CB radio. So if you guys are interested, check out the website, give us a call. If you guys want to talk radios, we're there.
Are they more affordable? Is it a lower price point than the?
Some
similar?
of them, they're very similar in
Okay.
costs. Very similar in costs. It's because it's a little bit different platforms. A lot of times when you're doing, say, a Jeep, you're just putting a two-way radio on it.
Right.
You know, you're just putting a two-way radio on it. I always recommend in a Jeep, put your mobile radio in the Jeep and have a handheld radio for your spotter. Okay, do things like that. The best thing about us as a company, I invite everybody to call and ask questions. I've got a super knowledgeable staff. Okay, my salespeople up front are really knowledgeable. Give them a call. If you want to talk to a technician, talk to a tech in the back, all you have to do is press, let's see, 1 for sales, 2 for marketing, and 3 for tech, I think. So tech is number 3. So call up and ask us questions. We love it when our customers call us because it does teach us on our directions and help our customers.
So this should sound familiar because I've said this exact same thing.
Yeah.
I go, hey, go to my website, right? The phone number is right at the top, right? It's right here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
awesome.
But
Glad
you know
guys
what?
operate the same way.
It's been fun coming over here today. I called Tony not long ago and
Yeah?
said, hey, this is my concept. I want to come down and work on some cars. And I want to train some new techs. I want to see real world experience on different vehicles. And he said, great, let's go. And I didn't even know about the tech talk. Okay, I didn't even know about the tech talk. They said, well, let's put this together. I'm like, cool, well, let's talk to people and answer questions. So thank you guys for having a format to get out and talk about things like
And
this.
you'll be able to go back on, this will be saved, and you can go on and answer more questions.
I'm sure our guys are already on it.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We'll be back again on Thursday. It was really a pleasure having you guys here today.
And thank you, Rockstar, for having them up. I just want to make sure that they get some proper branding in there.
So thanks again. We'll see you all on Thursday. Good night.